Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Goffstown Zoning Board of Adjustment meeting of April 5th. If you would stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, a little bit of business first. The Goffstown Zoning Board is an elected board of 5 members and up to 5 appointed alternates. Currently, the board does have 5 members and 1 alternate, so if anybody's interested in joining the ZBA and serving, please contact Town Hall for more information. The board has a posted agenda for each meeting and tends to follow the items in order. The board will open the public hearing on an application to receive testimony from the applicants, from the abutters, and affected parties, and ask questions about the application. The public hearing will then be closed, and the board will enter into a deliberative session to discuss the merits of the appeal. For each application, the board will decide to approve with conditions, deny, or continue to a later meeting. You're welcome to watch the deliberations this evening, or you can contact Town Hall for the results. For an applicant's request to be approved, there must be an affirmative vote of at least 3 members. An applicant can request a continuance if there's not a full 5-member board to act on an application. Tonight we do have a 5-member board that's present, as long as nobody's recusing themselves. If you're aggrieved by a decision made by the ZBA tonight, you have the right to appeal to Superior Court. However, before appealing to the Superior Court, you must request a rehearing with this board to preserve your right to appeal. Rehearing requests must be filed within 30 days of the decision and state all reasons why the decision was unlawful or unreasonable. Failure to request a rehearing may forfeit your ability to appeal to Superior Court. Now I'm going to ask everybody to make sure your phones are silent. And I'm going to ask the board to introduce themselves, and we'll start with Jason.
Jason Cody, member.
Alan Yaten, member.
Leonard Stewart, Vice Chairman.
Gail Lebrecht, Chair.
Judy Elaine, member.
Derek Horn, staff liaison.
Okay. One of the first items on the agenda would be to address Judy's application to continue on as an alternate of the board. Her term expired, and there's nobody else, and she wants to rejoin. So do we have a motion to reappoint?
Motion to reappoint?
For 3 years?
Yes.
22 to 25?
Yes.
Second.
Lifetime.
Sometimes it turns out that way.
Always Supreme
Okay,
Court.
so we have the motion, we have the second. All in favor?
Aye. Thank you.
Any abstaining or against? We have, and Judy, you will be able to continue tonight as an acting member and
Great.
voting member. Okay?
Thank you, yes.
And next we have the minutes to the ZBA meeting of February 1st. Jason did review some corrections with me just prior to the meeting, so we can incorporate those into it as well. Does anybody else have changes that they've noticed that need to be made? Okay.
Go. Motion to accept with the minor changes as discussed with the chair.
Okay.
Second.
Second.
Glenn and Alan, all in favor?
Aye.
Any against or abstaining? None, so the motion carries. Okay, our first application is Mark Scursy, applicant owner, seeking a special exception under section 14.7.3 of the Goffstown zoning ordinance to build a barn on a property that doesn't have a primary home located on it, located on a lot that doesn't meet the 2-acre area requirement, and only has frontage on a class 4 road. Is that supposed to be class 6?
It's supposed to be class 6, yes.
Class 6, okay, yeah, that was my question, okay.
Okay. A variance from section 3.12 is also requested to construct the accessory building on a lot that does not have a principal residential use. The property is located on Incline Avenue, map 41, lot 55, zoned agricultural. And I will entertain a motion regarding regional impact, please.
No, move no regional impact.
Do we have a second?
Second.
And all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any against or abstaining? None, motion carries. Okay, Mr. Scursy, would
Yes.
you like to come to the table here and tell us a little bit about your application request?
Okay, I'm seeking to build a barn/garage to store the farm equipment and the equipment that I have in the area that I use for maintaining the roads up there. I've been clearing the roads, and maintaining them for, it's got to be close to 40 years now. You know, I appreciate everything the town does, but that's an area that, you know, is up to us to help take care of. You know, so right now I have a backhoe up there on the property if anybody went up there.
Yeah.
I also have a tractor with a 7-foot snow blower. I have the snow blower sitting on the property at the moment, you know, along with tillers for the gardening that I do. You know, it's an agricultural area. I've put a couple peach trees on it and intend to put more blueberries and more fruit trees on the property, as well as do some more gardening. But mainly, you know, I need the area to store. There was, I don't know if you've noticed that there was one stake there with an orange flag. That was the corner of the proposed dwelling, you know, roughly. I want to dig it into the banking, so the majority of the building is set into the ground.
The corner of the proposed dwelling?
Well, the corner of the closed building, so I'm sorry,
What you're proposing to build?
what I'm
Okay,
proposing to
because when you
build.
say dwelling, it means somebody's
Yeah,
going to live
yeah,
there.
and the proposed building, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Excuse my terminology.
That's okay, I just want to make sure we understand.
Yeah,
it
yeah,
correctly.
no. I intend to dig it back into the bank, so the majority of the, you know, walls would be concrete, you know, as far as a retaining wall, and then, you know, a rather large, you know, tall area, you know, for the tractor, and the backhoe takes a bit of room. So it would be a, you know, good-sized door on the front, or a pair of doors.
Now, it looks like you've already started a lot of that.
I've started digging out towards the back, yeah. You know, regardless of whether I can build the structure, I need some place to store the equipment, whether it's out in the open or that. And
Anything else you want to
does
tell us?
somebody have any questions?
Questions? Board have questions of the applicant?
How are we going to certify that the building as built meets the required zoning setbacks?
There are pins identifiable on the property. I have 3 pins that I can locate, and with 3 pins, I should be able to identify the boundary. That edge is clearly marked, abutting Maxwell property in the corner of, terrible with last names, I'm terrible with names, and also the front corner. So with the 3 points, I can make a very certain mark to the edge, you know, where the boundary line is.
And at this point, Madam Chair, shouldn't we be inquiring to know the type of building or the size of the building in
That's all
relation?
part of the
Oh, I
It's in
didn't
the
see,
package.
I didn't see the, I didn't see that in my package, that's all. I'm sure it's here.
What, so what would you like to tell us?
What?
The size of the building that you're proposing?
Uh,
What's the size of the building you're proposing?
36 by 40, 40 feet deep, 36 feet wide, large enough to get a backhoes in, the tractors in. You know, we have a couple tractors, and you know, the implements that would normally go on them inside, and then, you know, come up to the height, basically around the height where the back is, and then, you know, with the back of the property. You saw the property, how it goes back up, and then that would be the top property. And, you know, the area over the garage would be usually like a workshop and then storage.
What about setbacks?
Setbacks, we're gonna do 25 from the edge, and then 30 from,
So they're gonna meet what's required?
that'll meet what's required. You know, that back corner pin is identifiable.
Okay.
It's in place.
Anybody else have questions? Judy, do you have any more?
No, I don't.
Alan?
Looking at your sketch with your application here,
Yep.
the access to the structure is going to be from the Incline Avenue side.
From Incline Avenue, it's straight back. If you went up to the property, I've kind of opened that area up and dug down, so that the area is there.
Okay, is that going to be paved, you're going to be adding in
Right now, it's, I just have nip pack down. At some point in time, I may pave it. If I pave it, I'll bring it all the way to the paving at Broussard Ave that I have. You know, I would pave it. If I pave the driveway and bring someone in, I'll pave all the way up to the Broussard Ave. It just makes sense. It's a lot easier for the snow blower. It doesn't pick up the rocks and stones.
Okay, but for the moment, it'll be.
For the moment, it's just gonna be nip pack, unless you're requiring me to pave it.
Jim, does this require selectmen's approval?
It will go to
Also-
them afterwards, right there?
Yes, it will, because it's on a Class 6 road.
Okay. Because the roads wander all in and out of the right of ways up there, all over the place.
Oh, my goodness.
It's
When I went up to
it's
see
a
the
mat-
property, it was like,
Yeah,
I couldn't believe it.
so what's gonna happen, sir, in the front yard? In front of the building?
In front of the building,
Yes.
I've started with a row of fruit trees, and I want to do a row of blueberry bushes, you know, along the driveway section. Starting from the other left-hand side, I think my wife said something about she wants a pawpaw tree. A couple pawpaw trees, I guess they used to be native to this area. I've never seen or heard of them, but I want to put a few cherry trees in, more blueberry bushes, and more agricultural type farming. You know, I'm a heavy gardener.
I just have a quick question for everybody. So if you're digging into the bank, and I understand
Yep.
that type of construction very well, and you start digging in, is it going to go beyond the 30-foot
No,
setback, or are you starting before that and digging in?
we'll
In
start,
case
we're
it
gonna
keeps down?
start back to,
It's
you know,
pretty high.
basically, when we do the foundation work, I'll probably be, they need to have safety for setting up the forms. So, but when the building is filled back in, the intention is to have the building a full 30 feet from the back and 25 feet from the side. You know, when we dig, we'll probably go back a few feet, you know, because it has to be safety for the guys setting up the forms, and that they can't, you know, set a form right up against a solid dug wall.
Going back a few feet where?
So, when you dig into the bank, in order to pour a concrete wall, you need to get a few feet behind it.
Behind the bank.
But behind that 30 foot, behind where the foundation wall is gonna be,
Is that 30, behind that 30 feet, is that your property?
there's a road behind the property,
Yes.
okay? And then 30 feet from there, Maxwell owns the property on the other side, directly behind the building. And further over, I believe town owns the property on the other section. But we won't, even digging, we won't get, we'll be at least 25 feet digging, you know, from the property line.
There's an explanation. He's gotta over excavate to be able to put the concrete in, and he'll backfill us for the building that's only 30 feet away from the property line as required by zoning.
I get that, but the way I understood it, or thought I might have heard it, was that the excavation was going to actually go off property a bit.
No.
Before,
No.
No,
No.
beyond the
That's not
30
what
feet.
no, he understands what I was trying to convey.
Okay.
I'm sorry if I, not really good at
Excavating
explaining it.
within the setback, in other words.
Right, yeah, we'll be well 25 feet from the property line, even digging to pour the wall and then filling it back so we're at the 30 feet.
Okay.
And no matter what, we would require a certified foundation.
Is that a zoning request at this point, or is that
That's a
planning?
building department request,
Building.
to ensure that it meets the setbacks and is located where it said it was going to go.
Right, so right now, we're just here to answer the request for the special exception
And the variance.
and the variance also, because there's two, yeah.
Yeah, 'cause
Yeah,
So
what I'm
Variance too,
understanding
yeah.
is, you're saying is once the foundation is set, we have to have that certified that it's that far off the line.
That's correct.
A variance, yeah.
So if
That
I go
will be-
another 6
that will
inches
be in
either
our
way, I'm
decision.
even safer.
the tractor that's in there, you use
What?
the tractor that's there you use for doing,
The backhoe,
Yeah.
the backhoe we used for repairing the roads, and back before I had Broussard tarred, after every heavy rain, we had major excavation, because the water flowing down the mountain has a way of carving holes and, you know, making ditches. So yes, I use that, plus I use the other tractor that's currently garaged on the Brassard Ave property.
and it's used for tilling and,
Well, I also use it for tilling for the garden.
so the reason that I asked that,
Okay.
Derek, if this is if his equipment's being used for agricultural operations on his property, doesn't this count as an agricultural building in an agricultural zoned area and it's permitted?
Yeah, it wasn't clear from the application that that was gonna be the only use of this, that it was only gonna be agricultural.
Because he's using his equipment to maintain the roads up there. It's not,
Maintain the roads and gardening, you know. I have 3 gardens so far in my yard, besides the 170 some odd blueberry bushes, fruit trees and such. And my intention is to put more of that type of items on the property, since it's zoned agricultural.
well, that you could do without a zoning, without a
Right.
variance.
Right.
I like to take care of my equipment, it costs a lot of money. New Hampshire weather is not good.
Go ahead, Alan.
Is this a 1 or 2-story building?
It will have the garage, and then it will have a workshop area above that, yes.
Is it a
Because-
2-story building?
What? Yeah,
Okay.
so because in order to come up to that height of the back where we're digging in, did you make it up to the property?
Yes.
Okay, so that back behind there is, I would say a solid 18 feet or so above where the front section is. So yes, they'd be there. My intention for that is storage and, workshop. I currently have my table saws and planer and radial arm saws and the drill press and joiner and that sort of stuff, situated in the property, but it's gotten to the point with other stuff stored in there that you're juggling everything around. So the intention would be to move that stuff over there, to have a place.
So I'm
Yes.
sorry, what's the height of the building again? I got the
The
dimensions,
banking,
not-
the
not-
banking is roughly, I haven't actually taken and put,
Because I saw it,
the level.
yeah, and I
Yeah,
was
so it's, it
concerned,
would
yes.
be, my best guesstimate is it's gonna be 18 feet or so to that backing. The garage the area for the tractors and stuff, I wanna have a minimum of 12-foot ceiling, because I need to get the backhoe in there. And also want to be able to work on them, because they always break down in the first possible weather. So the idea is to have something that I can actually fit the backhoe in. The backhoe is not short. The other tractors aren't short either. And if you're trying to work on them, it becomes even more. If you have to hoist something up off of it to work on it.
Now, the size of that building, it sounds like it's a lot bigger than even a lot of the homes that are up there.
The area was originally camps, yes. My home is quite a bit bigger than it, but, the garage, but, a lot of the places are very small camps, yeah.
Was yours the one with the 3-car garage? Was it 3?
Mine's the one as you came up the hill, if you came up Broussard.
I didn't, I came up the other one, but I think I went down.
Okay, if you
Sorry.
came down
On the
there,
left.
after it's tarred, yeah,
On the left.
that's there, because
Okay.
we got together and, tarred that a number of years back. And it's the biggest blessing not having to fix that every time it rains. It's, it always seems to rain right after you fix it.
Okay. Does the board have any other questions?
Not at this time.
Oh, I do want to show some pictures of the property, if the board wants to see them. This is what it looks like now, if you haven't had a chance to get up there to see them.
If you did catch it, that's the stake that I have with the red ribbon or whatever on it is kind of where the proposed corner of the building is. But if I need to certify maybe another 6 inches away from the property boundaries would be in my best interest. Be terrible to be an inch or two off.
Especially if you don't have room to be an inch or two off.
Well, it's all right if it's an inch or two the other way.
Yes.
So maybe 6 inches extra would be a wise move on my part.
So it's gonna be a concrete masonry building with a concrete
The
foundation?
3 sides will be concrete, where it sinks into the ground, and then where it's not sunk into the ground, it would be wood structure in either contemporary or vinyl, you know, some sort of either
Okay.
clapboard type vinyl or shake vinyl or, you know, or a wood type finish. I haven't looked at all the different options so far with the
Okay.
costs and everything. Obviously, you know, building costs have gone up substantially, you know, material, but it will be similar to what's in the area, not, you know, standing out. I'm not gonna have metal deco that doesn't fit to the neighborhood or anything like that, or.
You're gonna be selling firewood from this site?
No, that's from my wood stove. That's wood that came off the property,
Okay.
and that's probably not gonna be next year's wood supply, but the following year. So it has a couple years to season. I have another pile in my yard that my wife's been yelling at me. I got rid of one last year.
Do you anticipate proposing future development besides that building?
No. No, everything else should be garden trellises or something like that, which I don't believe I need permits for. It has a well on it right now, which I intend to use for the watering the gardens and stuff. If that was ever to be insufficient, I may put a well in to continue watering, you know, the blueberries and gardens. It's a long way to run a hose from the other house. And it would go across the roads. But I'm hoping I don't have to.
Do you guys have any other questions for the applicant?
Not this time.
I want you to see the pictures.
Yes, okay.
Are you okay looking at the pictures while we review the variance criteria?
Yes.
Okay. You remember when you submitted the application, there was the variance request
Yeah,
and the special exception request?
yes.
I want you to, I would appreciate it if you would explain your responses so we can get
Okay, I
it
don't
appropriately
have
on
the
the record.
paper in front of me.
You can start with, on the variance, start with the issue of not being contrary to public interest. You can read what you wrote, you can summarize what you wrote, you can elaborate.
Okay, contrary that basically I put down that the lot has a building already, a small shed on the front.
And that's
Which
gonna stay?
What?
Is that gonna stay?
I'd probably get rid of it long-term. I know my son had said something about wanting it, but if I have this dwelling, I don't really need that. You know, that right now is stores tools and other items on it. You know, this would trying to make it as least obtrusive as possible by digging it into the bank. Need a place to store the equipment. Having the equipment out in the open and spread out over the place is more of an eyesore than actually having it put away, you know, inside of a building, in a garage. It doesn't really change the neighborhood. It's not adding another house or another burden on the town. The neighborhood will stay pretty much the same. You know, I'll still maintain, you know, as long as I am, and hopefully my kid will do it after I'm dead. You know, so it doesn't change the neighborhood, but it gives a place to store the equipment, and get the equipment out of the eyesore. Not only my equipment, but I have, you know, an ex-brother-in-law up there that's got equipment lying around in the yard. By giving us a proper place to store it, not only does it benefit us by getting it out of the weather, but it also benefits everybody else from an aesthetic standpoint. It allows the storage of the equipment, maintain, you know, that we use to maintain the roads and the area, and, you know, the gardening and stuff we do. I think that kind of fits right in with it. Having something with the area cleaned up and not having equipment lying around in the yards helps to improve property values and makes it a little more aesthetically appealing.
And last but not least, the hardship criteria, hardship issue.
Which paragraph was that? Okay, unnecessary hardship, essential relationship. It's beneficial to the neighborhood by, you know, cleaning up some of the clutter of the equipment lying around the neighborhood. It helps, you know, us all, and also helps to maintain the equipment for a longer period of time so we can keep going out there and, you know, helping to take care of our neighborhood. You know, I've been doing it at some place to put the stuff away and keep it for longer. You know, it stores, preserves, and, you know, kind of repeats itself in the different questions, but, you know.
Now, the question for hardship especially, it's supposed to be regarding the special conditions of the property that distinguish it from others in the neighborhood. So what conditions on the property distinguish it from others in the neighborhood?
What will putting the building there make it different, or?
As it sits now, how is it different?
How
is your lot different that creates from the others in the neighborhood?
Okay, the other lots in the neighborhood already have their sheds or buildings on there, you know, garages to store their stuff and items along that, you know, sheds.
But how is your lot different? Looking at your lot, maybe the topography of the lot, is it different? Is there wetlands on it? Is there something different about your lot compared to the others?
The lots are, right now, the lot is more open. You know, with the hill slope side, it's a beneficial, you know, use to dig into the bank, and not take away from it in the gardening, and, you know, and allows it to still maintain the character of the neighborhood, and at the same time, you know, not change that character, make good use of it, get rid of the other shed that's on there, make it the whole neighborhood more aesthetically appealing, and at the same time maintain the area.
Yeah. Is the reason that this lot has remained undeveloped up to this point partly due to the topography? Or the
Well,
other
I
conditions?
think it was photography too, with the elderly gentleman who had it before me, was sitting on a lot of property in the neighborhood and had developed some of it, and other stuff he was just kind of sitting on. This was one of the ones he's sitting on. Howard is rather aged now, And, so when approached, he was willing to, let it go because you can't take it with you. He kind of had it there. He had renters of his parking on the property before I bought it.
Alan?
I just wanted to understand that if we approve a variance for here, that it's for inside storage of equipment and not on-site storage for equipment. It's gotta be specific. So the hardship here is probably the fact that he doesn't have a place to put an inside storage to clean up his equipment and put it undercover.
That, to me, that's not a special condition of the property, of the land.
Okay?
Just my opinion.
We all have them.
Yep.
So,
Does the board have any other questions on this one before we move on to the special exception?
yes,
Okay.
I just have I need clarification on this
Okay.
plot plan. 4155 is on Incline Ave, is the lot in question that's going to be worked on,
Yes.
correct? Okay. 4154A is right on Incline Ave, and it's in the pictures, right? 4150,
It's right on the property line by tax map, too.
yes, 4154A, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And so I guess what I'm seeing is, now I have to envision, I saw it, I was there. So back here where this X is, towards the 115 feet, that's where the building is gonna go?
Yeah, with the
Because
X's. Yeah, not where the X is.
Yeah, because the boundary setback didn't make any sense when I saw this house and within several feet.
Well, he has two front yards. One on,
Okay,
okay, so he has one on Incline, and on the rear street, unnamed on this tax map, there's also have a front yard.
they call this a front yard,
They have
okay.
two front yards.
Two front yards.
Actually, he has three,
Three.
because I
I
own it.
own it, I own it, Ave.
The other one is Keoka?
So you don't call Iona as the side yard setback?
Nope.
I'm
that-
trying
That's
to
a front
find-
yard setback also.
Yeah, when it's
There are
on.
three
when-
fronts.
Yeah, when it's, actually, this
Yeah,
one
yeah.
has frontage on 3 streets.
Okay. And so the side yard setback is for 4154 lot and
Mhm.
4154A lot.
Yes,
And the building's gonna be located over 25 feet off of the boundary in the back, well, not the
Correct.
back, but in this
Is
corner.
it 30
Yes.
feet in the back? or
Yeah,
20
30 feet in the
30
back.
feet in the back?
30
And
on
then
the
25
back
on the
and
side.
25 on the
inches.
side. So basically, within this, we should have a little, okay, to identify that. Thank you. I just needed clarification where we were.
Okay. Anything else?
Nothing.
Just a thought here too, Gail, that I'm wondering if one of the hardships about this property is the very location of it. I think we all know this area is a very unique section of town because of its history as camps that were turned into year-round homes and the crazy nature of the varying sized lots, the difficulty, as Alan has pointed out, sometimes in determining the exact boundaries because of the problems with surveys in the past. These, I think, are somewhat unique to this part of town, and I think that might constitute a hardship for the
Well,
owner.
I agree with that, but is it unique to this lot? That's what the criteria requires, is that it's unique to this lot.
Unique to the area.
The only uniqueness that I see is he doesn't want to have a residence there. He wants to have a building there. That's why he's here.
Yeah.
He owns a home a block away.
Yep, yep, I agree.
It's on the biggest site up there.
Right.
Oh, I agree with that part of it, but I don't agree with your interpretation of the variance hardship.
That's your right.
Yep, I know. Okay, we'll move on to the special exception.
How about we vote on the variance first?
Do you want to vote on the variance?
Yes.
Okay, good idea. Okay.
Madam Chair, do you want to open the public hearing
Oh, yes,
on
we should do
the
that.
variance?
So how about if we review the special exception, and that way we're not opening and closing the public hearing a bunch of times.
You're the chair.
Does that work?
Yeah, you can, I just wanted to make sure that you didn't go into voting on one of the applications without opening the public hearing.
Yeah.
So-
Okay, you know what, we will. We'll
I
go,
think- Oh, sorry.
we'll vote on the, we'll open the public hearing for the variance,
Yes.
and then we'll vote on that, get that out of the way, because without the variance, we don't need to address the special exception. So, okay, so if you wouldn't mind sitting back, we're going to open the, hearing to the public, and if there's anybody here that would like to make some comments, just ask that you come down to this table and introduce yourselves. Is there anybody who wants to comment? None?
Hey, gentlemen,
No, would you come to this table, please, and tell us who you are?
okay, my name is Ed Schoeneman. I have one of the lots.
What's your first name?
Ed.
Ed Schoeneman?
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I guess the biggest problem with this building is, it's 7 times bigger than my house, and it's
You can
from
sit down.
that
Sit
wall
down.
to that wall away.
Okay.
Would you like that, you know, next to your house? I mean, my house right now on a little hill looks like an outhouse. That's what it's gonna look like. That's a big building, you know, and, I mean, what he's saying, his tractor is in one of his 5 garages down at his house right now, so I don't see the reason why he needs something that big. Okay. The second thing is that he mentioned that little 10 by 10, that's not even his. Ask him whose stuff is in it. The renter's across the street. That's
Actually, my stuff is in there.
Sir?
I know, I'm
You'll
talking.
have your opportunity.
So anyways, the renters across the street have their stuff in there also. That's been there since that house has been for rent in the last 15 years. That cabin's been there. There's storage for, actually, I don't want to get the people, I don't want to say anything. But my house is already, the colored pictures of the fall, that was the before. The ones you saw without the colored pictures of the nice beautiful leaves, that's after. And he's telling me he brought the value up to my house, the value up on my house. I think it's gone way down, you know? And then I get 7 days a week, chainsaw, chippers, you know, log splitters, all that wood he's gonna be splitting. I don't know if you saw the picture, him cutting a lawn from here to 4 feet from my window. I gotta pull my shades down, I gotta close the windows, you know?
Which lot do you live on?
Yes.
What lot do you live on? Do you live on
55A,
incline,
55A. A little house.
55.
54A or 55A?
It's identified as map 41, lot 54A
Okay.
on your
Thank
map.
All right.
And it looks like his building is right up to the property line,
Yes.
very close to it.
Well, that's not unusual up there.
Oh, I know. I'm just saying that's where it is,
Yeah.
so I can kind of understand what he's
Well,
saying
you
about
know
the.
what, probably a decent person with a lot that size would have left 5 feet of trees and then continued on. There was no reason to take everything down right up to my little wall. There was no reason for it. Why would you do, I offered to buy 10 feet, 5 feet, no, I'm not selling.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yes, Judy?
Madam Chair, this is an agricultural zone, and the wooden and the saw and all that, that's not a commercial business, is that? I didn't see a sign that it was a commercial business for cordwood or anything.
No, we can ask the applicant when he comes back.
Oh, okay.
He works on Sundays. I had a barbecue up there with the kids, it was so loud, nobody wanted to stay. We went somewhere else. You know, chainsaws, I can't stand chainsaws anymore. This is, even Sundays, from morning till dawn, you know, maybe 6 o'clock. You know? Now, he's not done taking trees down, and he's still got all that wood. How long do you think it's gonna take to split that wood, you know, how much noise do I have to listen to? Tractors going by my house all the time, close the windows, there comes the dust, you know? It's, I'm ready to be so, it's so discouraging, you know? You read my email, right? Did you get my email?
I got an email.
Oh,
I don't know.
okay, all right, that's fine. I just questioned it. But anyways, there's a lot of issues. You know, I moved up there to retire, peace and quiet, and I had it. And I can go on and on. I don't think it should be I could see maybe one or two things, but 4 on the same property that he wants to resolve. You guys must have made the rules for a reason, you know? But nobody in that neighborhood has a garage. Not one house up there has a garage on their house, except his house. But other than that, we all have 75, but most of us 75 by 75 lawns. Some a little bit bigger, you know, but no garages. And the other backhoe, the other one he's talking about, it's belongs to him and his brother-in-law, so why would he store his brother-in-law's tractor? You know? I can see why he'd store it, but I mean, there's just so much. I'm not a good talker, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
My mouth is like powder right now.
That's okay. Does the board have any questions of this abutter, of Mr. Schoeneman?
I think I have a better understanding of what's going on.
Is there any, are you done?
I'm all set.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming in and
Thank you.
talking with us.
Okay.
Is there anybody else who wants to make any comments on this application? Okay, being none, then I'm going to close the public hearing, and the board is going to address the variance. Do we have comments or anything on the variance?
So I have a question that's popped up into my head.
Oh, you know what? Before we actually, I should give the applicant a chance to comment. So, Mr. Scursy, if you want to come back up, if you have any response or anything before we do deliberate.
I know that Ed's not happy. I try to wait till 10 o'clock in the morning on weekends. I unfortunately work a lot during the week, so weekends, yes. I have been working up there. I have been out there with my chainsaw. I have been out there with the tractor. He doesn't mind the tractor when I'm snow blowing the road or his driveway. You know, he has a temporary shed type garage set up behind his house. I know the building is larger, which is why I'm trying to build most of it into the banking and set it in there. My brother-in-law, yeah, he owns part of the backhoe. We've been maintaining the road up there. Odds are, not only will that, but some of the other equipment that he has in his yard will probably also go in the garage. And I mentioned that, you know, other equipment from the neighborhood. The shed is there. Contrary, yes, the neighbor across the street, I did allow him to store his snow blower in there. And he has a couple other items. I have a padlock on it with my combination that I shared with him. So, you know, he's partially right. The neighbor over there does. I try to be friendly with my neighbors and share and you know, be good. You know, my understanding was when I brought the property that he had been offered it and didn't want it. That may be a misstatement on my part. think the original property owner got along real well with him, his wife, but, you know, that's hearsay. I'm not really allowed to say that. I bought the property from him, even though I didn't really want to go through a bunch of stuff to subdivide and sell off property. I bought the property for the purpose I had. The stuff closest to him was mostly bramble bushes. There wasn't a row of trees next to his house. I cleared those out and I planted next to his house 3 peach trees, thinking that would make a good border, and then, you know, I've planned on doing a row of blueberry bushes after that to try to give, you know, a neighborly type border. The, you know, dwelling is not going next to his house, but behind it and adjacent to the Maxwell property. None of the building actually borders next to his. You know, trying to be as considerate as possible.
Okay.
You know.
Go ahead.
Madam Chair, I just have a question on 5.1 accessory buildings, about the maximum height allowed. Does this fall under that category of 17 feet to the peak?
No, it would not, because when it's an accessory building under that, there's a reduced rear and front setback. So,
Isn't there a square footage
There is
There is a
limitation
square-
on accessory buildings also?
Yes.
so when you're an accessory building under, let me get there. 5.1, those are for accessory buildings. Typically, we see them as sheds, but they could be a carport. 600 square feet or less, shorter than 17 feet to the peak, and by those reduced sizes, they can be within 10 feet of the side and rear property line. They do not have to meet the underlying rear and side property line setbacks. Whereas this is proposed to be larger footprint and a taller building, which we do see. We see that with barns or other detached garages. It has to meet the regular setbacks for the district.
Okay.
Pardon me, just an observation. While I understand the neighbor's noise concerns, most of the activities that we're talking about, air tractor operation, wood cutting, are all part of normal agricultural operations and presumably permitted within the agricultural district.
Oh, I'm going to close the public hearing. So the board is going to discuss the variance request and vote on it.
I have a problem with no diminishing of adjacent properties. I think this would just flat out destroy the value of my property I have in that building there.
So,
Number 4.
oh. Yeah, the values of surrounding properties.
Yep. I have a problem there.
Like I said, I still believe that it's not meeting the hardship conditions, or the hardship criteria. There's not a special condition on that property that distinguishes it from the others. And that has been expressed, that I see. That's my issue. But I would agree with you also on the values being diminished.
When you asked where the entrance was, where the driving was going to take place, where was it? What was the response?
From Incline
Incline.
Avenue.
On
Incline
Incline Ave, probably in front of the,
Straight
direct
into
straight,
Straight in toward
Straight
the
in.
building from Incline Avenue.
straight in, and therefore I see that the involvement in the side property there is
So-
very exposed.
So, I think I would agree with you if it was a residential area, but it's not, it's agriculture. And I would expect that in some areas you would need a structure that size to host that type of equipment.
No, the thing is, it is a residential area. Even though it's zoned agricultural, it's a residential area because of the density of the dwellings up there.
And it doesn't meet the 2-acre minimum requirement, and so there goes the, you know, that support, the fact that it doesn't meet that kind of supports Alan's argument that it's just all gonna be very close proximity. It's not gonna have that 2 acres to blend in. None of the properties up there are.
Right.
Well, there might be
But
some,
on the flip
not that I
side,
saw.
we wouldn't be having this discussion at all if he was only doing agricultural stuff in there.
Right.
Madam Chair, I just want to put in that on number 3, the use will not create a nuisance or hazard to vehicles. A nuisance to vehicles or
That's special
pedestrians.
exception. That's a special exception.
Okay, that's, I'm on the wrong, okay.
Yeah, we're on the next one,
First
the first one.
page, go back, got it.
Public interest, spirit of the ordinance, substantial justice,
Yes.
property values, and hardship.
Okay, there it is, yes. Thank you.
Is there a permit for, or permission for maintaining the road?
Well,
That would be a question for
I asked
the-
that question, but
Well,
does he get paid for doing this?
Not by the town,
No. But do the other owners up there end up paying?
I don't know.
so, the reason that I asked that though, is that can private parties maintain or repair Class 6 roads? The answer was yes, with permission of the municipality.
So I would say, I would agree with that. I don't know that that's a zoning question. I think that would be a question for the select board.
But is that from the zoning ordinance?
It's from the New Hampshire Municipal Ordinance.
Probably a hard
But-
to
But the reason I asked is it goes to the equipment that he's using and trying to store. So, I'm trying to tie them together here.
I'm just sorry, I'm back on I'm on the proper paper, I believe. Request for variance, number 2, the spirit of the ordinance is observed because the response was, does not change neighborhood, only improves it. The spirit of the ordinance has to do, in my opinion, with people, places, and things within that area. And I think some people are being greatly affected, first by the type of equipment when it's fired up. It's very much, smoky and combustible and all that, and has to heat up over great periods of time. So that's a spirit of the ordinance where I think that's a problem. And that would also be like the health, depending on how close everything is also without the breathing. And also too, the neighborhood does not benefit from a potential looking construction zone if it's a construction company working amongst residences, even if it's agricultural, because it is such a small lot under the 2 acres requirement. Just an opinion on what I'm reading.
You ready for a motion?
I'm ready for
Well,
a
I
motion.
have another question.
Okay.
Did we actually ask the applicant, and did he answer whether or not there was going to be business running from here?
Didn't answer.
Alan asked him if he was going to be selling cordwood from the property, and he indicated the wood was for private use. That's,
I'd like to just get it in the record and make sure that there's no business being run from the property.
Well,
I think we've closed it here. If I can offer an observation, Gail. I think the problem we're up against here is something, this reminds me of a case that we did some years ago where there was someone parking a large commercial vehicle at their home, which was in an agriculturally zoned area. And the problem that I see here, yeah, there's de facto residential because of the presence of the homes which have been here for some time, but I don't think that we can treat this, you know, as a residential zone. We've got to look at what's allowable under the agricultural zoning and not, you know, again, it's tough, but that was the way it came down.
Well, the agricultural zone doesn't necessarily just mean agricultural activities, like farming and cows or whatever. I mean, my house is in an agricultural zone, so it's residential, but it's especially related to the size of the lots, which gives that space in between, so it's not like Pinardville.
But the agricultural zone allows for agricultural type
Operation.
activities and operations. That's what I was trying to get at.
But
Yeah.
this isn't agricultural operations. Nothing was mentioned about it being agricultural. It was mentioned about it being for the roads, maintaining the roads.
And I
And
Which
believe
is-
tilling the property.
tilling his gardens, planting trees, blueberry bushes, I mean, that
That's,
sounds pretty agricultural to me.
Yeah, but I think the equipment that he's got is probably a lot bigger than what blueberries would require.
But again, is that
that's
is
not
that
up to our
something that's
judgment.
our purview?
Right.
I'll make a motion to deny the variance request.
I second that motion.
And do you want to,
Specifically, it doesn't meet criteria number 4. Proves the property values, it does not, in my opinion.
okay. Is that the only one you want to include?
At the moment.
I would suggest adding the hardship. 'Cause I don't see the hardship there. If you're not comfortable with it, that's your choice, you made the motion. And Judy's comments about the spirit of the ordinance, that usually combines with the public interest.
Yep.
And so what do you think about?
I'm gonna stick with the valuation. The values in the neighborhood.
Okay. And Judy second? Do we have any comments on any of this? Jason? Any more comments? Okay, so we'll take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Against? And Jason. Motion carries and the variance is denied. And we don't need to go into the special exception. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that is not something we need to do now that there's no variance to do the other things. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Okay.
So the appeal process, I go to the building department for that?
Yeah, if you want to contact Town Hall tomorrow, we can let you know
Okay.
what the rehearing request process is. All right?
Okay, the next application is Jeffrey and Sylvia Lewis, applicant owners seeking a variance to build an addition to an existing home within the inner 50-foot buffer area of the Wetland Surface Water Conservation District. The proposed addition will be located 32 feet from the abutting brook, surface water, whereas 100 feet is required per section 13.3.3.5 and section 13.3.3.5.2 of the Goffstown zoning ordinance. The property is located at 17 Pleasant Street, map 34, lot 37, zoned residential 1, and Wetland Surface Water Conservation District overlay. You guys want to come on down? And I will entertain a motion for regional impact, please.
I move no regional impact.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Hello, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourselves, please.
Hi, my name is Jeff Lewis.
Sylvia Lewis.
Okay, thank you. Why don't you tell us about your application?
We're just looking to put a addition on the front of our house for a bigger living room, basically. Kids are growing up, our friends are coming over, and the room is getting smaller. So is our couch.
Okay,
So that's what we would like to do.
that's it. Can you tell us about the house and how it sits on your property? And especially in relation to the surface water?
The house
The
has
wetlands?
been there since 1960, and it's definitely very close to the Whittle Brook, definitely within the 100-foot mark of that the town requires, so that's kind of my hardship. I'm looking to get this variance, so we can build a
And how much do you want to expand? I think it's the living room, right?
It's the living room.
How much do you want to expand
We
that?
want to add 12 feet, and then it would be the length of the house, 28 feet. So a 12 by 28 foot addition.
Okay. Now, I saw your application at the Planning Board and Conservation Commission meetings, and you have a deck there that you're
Yes,
you're using that deck as a portion of this?
yes,
So
that's
it really minimizes the impact into the wetlands more because the deck is there?
right. The porch or deck, yes, is there. That's 6 feet wide already, so we'll just be adding like another 6 feet.
6 feet more into the wetlands?
Yes.
Okay. And we do have let me see if I can find it. We have comments from the Conservation Commission who do recommend the approval of their application. And I know the Planning Board also had no issues with their application.
Why did it go to the planning board?
What was he, went to the Planning Board for?
I don't know why it would go to the planning board. I knew that it had to go to conservation because it's within the wetland surface water conservation,
Was
but
it somebody else I was thinking of? Did you go to the Planning Board?
Maybe, no, I thought this was the planning board.
Oh, no,
this
this
is
is the zoning
the
board.
zoning board.
Then I
Okay, yep.
erred. Must have been thinking of another applicant then. Because I remember them saying that the Conservation Commission,
Or did go there?
Yes, it
it did go to the Conservation
It went to the
Commission.
Conservation
And the
Commission.
Conservation Commission recommends.
That's on the staff review. I think they put it on the staff review.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for here.
If,
Were you here in 2010 when we had the flood?
Yep. It
How
came-
bad was it at your house?
It wasn't bad. It was probably like
Went on
2
the
feet.
opposite side.
It all went out to the opposite side where it's like a lot lower out there, almost
is,
towards,
yeah.
well, where we are, towards Cumberland's. That whole field was full. Even I think, is it back Mountain Road or what's, Mountain Road?
Yeah?
It was almost, I think,
staff review number 3.
over that too.
Page 5.
But our house was
Yeah, it never
still
like
like,
really came
never
on our
came
side,
over
it
the
was
bank.
all over
So
on
you
that
can
side.
think that our wetland overlay might be a little tinkering, need to have it tinkered a little bit because
the way it is written is, it does not take into account topography. It only takes into account linear feet from, or it only takes horizontal distance.
Okay, horizontal distance.
It
we
does
had
not-
FEMA.
But I think this board should take into consideration the fact that they were not flooded when we had that 2010 flood.
Yes, we have to have flood
Yeah,
insurance.
that would
We
be nice,
had
so we don't have to
the,
pay for flood insurance.
we had them come and survey it, but we're still, like he said, it's the horizontal. They just look
Yeah.
at it, yep, you're within 100 feet, we don't care how tall you, how you sit.
Okay.
Here's your check, just send us the
Here's
money.
your
Or your
bill.
bill, yeah, here's your bill.
Okay,
We want the
understand.
check.
I understand. Okay.
Thanks, FEMA.
Yeah, they did go to the Planning Board because the Planning Board had to review and comment.
Okay.
Or the Select Board. Oh, I don't think I was mentioning it.
I
That's what
didn't-
it says here.
Okay.
What number is that?
On a Thursday night,
Yeah.
last week.
I thought that was the Conservation Committee.
But that's,
It was, it says the Conservation Committee voted unanimously.
March 23rd was when we came.
Right, I didn't think that was anything to do with the planning
Okay.
board, but
Yeah, there's nothing here to vote on.
we've only been in that meeting and this meeting, if
Yeah,
that matters.
Or maybe the planning board just discussed it. I don't know.
I
Okay.
don't see any memo in here from the planning board.
no, Conservation Committee. Number 3.
Mhm.
Okay. It's out of my mind now. Okay. Does the board have any questions?
Yes, I'm just trying to look at the diagrams real quick here, and on the side of your home where the brook is, that's the 32 feet that the Conservation Committee was cautious about. And also, you're building the addition on the front here coming towards the tree. There's a picture of a tree here.
Oh, okay.
Was there a tree there?
There was
Yeah, there's still a tree there?
a
I
big
don't remember
maple,
seeing
no,
it.
we had to take it down, it was starting to
Oh.
rot, and
Oh, it's
every
huge.
windstorm, it
Yeah,
would,
I didn't think I saw a tree, so I got a little bit sidestepped. So you're gonna build frontwards stairs, the
there's
front
just,
door, access?
yes, front doors and then just the 3 stairs, I believe it'll be down, so we can,
Okay, nothing
Gain
off the
access.
end going towards the brook?
nope.
No.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Anybody else?
What were you planning on using for erosion control?
The Conservation Committee asked that I used silt fence, put along the little brook while I was digging, excavating.
Okay.
Alan, questions?
I'm just gonna tell the client that the silt fence is manufactured on Daniel Plummer Road.
Perfect.
Oh, is it?
Thank you for the hometown plug.
Yep.
Yes.
Any more questions? Or I'll ask him to review his variance request. Do you have that paperwork?
Yes.
Okay, we can-
Oh, perfect. Yeah, that's good. All right, what would you like me to?
Let's start with number 1, about the contrary to public interest. You can read it, you can summarize or elaborate, whatever you want to do.
All right, well, number 1, the property is privately owned and it doesn't really affect the public too much, besides when the construction's gonna be going on, but I think we're used to that around here. And the property is very close to the wetland, it's definitely within 100 feet that you guys require for it to be out of, to build on. And granting this variance would do substantial justice. It would allow for the extra square footage and would give us an increase the value of the property. Number 4, we would be increasing the value of the property, putting the addition on. 5, existing non-conforming lot, the house has been there since 1960 by the water, which is creating the hardship. Part 2, our family is growing and we would benefit from the extra space. And Part B, we need a variance to abide by the town's rules so we could get a building permit.
Questions or comments, anybody?
Thanks.
Only the observation, it's not that the house gets smaller, it's just the kids take up more square
Yes.
footage as they grow.
They're bringing over friends and it's like, geez.
Gets worse when they're teenagers.
Well, that's
believe me.
Yeah,
where
that's where
we've got a
we're at. We have a
13-year-old and
13-year-old now.
that, yep, having friends over the house and they're just kind of taking over the space and it's not a very big space.
Well, the fact that they want to hang out at your
Yeah.
house it says a lot.
Yeah.
Okay. Comments, anybody? Okay, then I will close the public hearing, open the public hearing. I'm going to open the hearing to the public. Is there anybody that wants to comment? He says no. Okay, so I'm going to close the public hearing now. If the board has no other questions or comments? Oh, never mind.
No, just a comment, we can do this during deliberation, but 2 comments. One should be about no further encroachment as requested by the Conservation Commission.
Yeah,
And the erosion control measures should be mentioned in the approval or disapproval or whatever.
So you're suggesting to make the Conservation Commission's recommendations
Right.
conditions of approval?
Yeah, a condition of approval.
That's what I had the
I'll
intention
appreciate
to
that,
do.
and it's the right thing to do. Okay. Does somebody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to grant the variance as
Did you
requested.
close your hearing,
I did.
Gail? Okay.
And with the addition that they follow the Conservation Commission's recommendations for erosion control and no further encroachment on the 50-foot wetland service, wetlands.
So
Just a
one-
buffer.
Right.
So what that precludes is that no further construction can be done there.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay. We have a second?
Second. Jason?
Okay. We have the motion, we have the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Okay, and our last application for the night?
You sure that's you?
I hope so. Last application is
722 Mass Road.
oh, I know which one it is. I'm just looking for my paper that I was reading from. Application. Okay. Andrew and
Sue Wen.
Zhu Wen and Yu Shen, applicant owners seeking a variance to convert the first floor of a commercial building that currently has a daycare business located within it into an apartment. This will convert the use from a commercial business with an apartment above into a 2-family building. The variance is required as a 2-family home is not permitted within the commercial district per section 3.11, Table of Principal Uses, A2 of the Goffstown zoning ordinance. The property is located at 722 Mass Road, map 15, lot 137, zone commercial. Okay, and you are,
Yeah.
you're Andrew, okay. would you-
Ma'am, actually, there's not a business on the first floor. She actually closed her business before she put the house up for sale.
Okay,
It is for sale, correct?
No, I bought it.
Oh, okay, you bought it, okay. I saw the sign, so.
okay, so it doesn't
Wasn't sure
have,
what transpired.
it doesn't currently have the, okay. But it's still zone commercial.
Yes.
That
at the
didn't
moment.
change with them vacating. Okay. Oh, wait a minute. Motion for regional impact, please.
I'll make a motion that there is not a regional impact fee.
Second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, now we can continue. Sorry.
All right.
You want to tell us about your application, what you're looking to do?
Oh, so I live next, actually, I don't know if you took pictures. This is a picture of, my home's on the left and this home's on the right. This is the property next to me.
Okay. Are you part of, so you're part of this application?
Yeah, actually,
Okay,
yeah,
you're
I
not
got a
just-
letter
you're-
too. I'm in a
huh?
butter, yeah.
You're in a butter and an owner?
Yeah,
Okay.
He's in the red house next door. Is it red?
it is,
Me?
yes.
Yeah, he's in the house next door.
Yeah.
Okay, that's.
Which is a
subject
two-family.
property there.
Yeah.
But
Because previously, the owner of that did the same process and changed it from a business on the first floor to a two-family. Before I bought it.
How long ago was that, do you know?
I'm not sure when he did that. I bought it about 5 years ago. And I live on the first floor. I have a tenant that lives on the second floor
In the red building.
in the red building.
And you co-own the white building?
Yep,
And
my
the
wife
building
and stepdaughter.
towards the next to on the other side is also residential.
Oh,
Uh,
in a commercial
Which one?
zone, but it's residential. I didn't see
The
the,
one next door, you're here, this is the house, the one next door on the corner of the street, isn't that's residential also, isn't it?
If it's the one to the right, the yellow house,
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
electric U. It's still, there is an apartment on the second floor, but the first floor is a hairdresser. Actually, I use her to cut my hair.
it's
We
the
won't hold that
electric,
against
the electric razor, right?
But across the
Yeah.
street, there is a home
Okay.
that went up for sale recently, and I haven't seen them put a business in that.
Across the street from the animal hospital?
Yeah, yeah.
There's still several houses along that strip right up to Mass Road Lumber and Auburn Hardware that have residential occupancies in the upper floors and commercial on the first floors in some instances.
Oh, and the one next to, across the street, 715, that's actually a 5-unit apartment.
Okay, yes, okay.
Where I lived before I bought 726.
That's next to the animal hospital,
Yeah.
I think, yeah.
Yeah, close.
This side, I think, yeah. That property we talked about a few meetings ago.
Anybody
Yes,
else have
that
questions?
one on the left. That's it. Yeah, that's it.
Would you care to review your variance criteria from your application?
Sure.
We can get that on the record?
Right. And that's actually the person who sold me this property, Gail, she actually wrote this out
Okay, you can read what she wrote,
with, long,
but
with
you
me
can
in
elaborate on it if you
consideration.
want.
Let's see. Yeah, it wouldn't change the overall feel of the neighborhood because actually these blocks are a mix of small businesses, multifamily houses, and single-family homes.
Which
Single-family homes on the side streets right next to us.
Which page are you on?
He's on number 1, that was
Oh.
granting the variance would not be
Oh, okay,
contrary.
I see it,
Yep.
okay. I see where he is.
Yeah, it would maintain its current appearance. We have no plans to change the outside of it. And actually only looking to improve the inside, to make it a nicer place for someone to live.
Okay.
It would lessen the congestion because at those times when people were dropping off their children and picking them up, it got pretty busy there. But she actually stopped doing that about a month before she put it up for sale.
Okay.
Let's see.
In fact,
Yeah.
that is true, because now there's no business there,
Right.
operating
Right. You don't have the
for 30 kids,
drop off, pick up,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, if you live next door, I would take care of it. Actually, the 726, the person that owned that before I bought it, used that as just an income property, and he really let it run down. Me and my wife actually put a lot of effort into making that place nice. So we did take, we would plan on taking care of the house next to us too,
Okay.
not let it get run down. And yeah, I found out that the building was originally a home, 722. And that, I don't know if Gail did or someone put in the request to use it as a business on the first floor, where she had her daycare business.
Yeah, well, it is zone commercial, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And 726, where I live, it did the reverse. Someone had a lawyer business on the first floor, and they changed it to just a residential 2-family home. Yeah, there'd be virtually no noticeable change.
Values of surrounding properties,
Yeah.
you think that they would be affected?
I don't think so. I mean, we're going to upkeep it so that it won't become run down and diminish the value of that neighborhood.
Okay. And on to the hardship criteria, the special conditions of the property.
Oh, that, let's see. So she was saying, because there have been a decline in small businesses. Actually, like, I guess it was vacant for about 5 months, but I know it was on the market for 2 months before I put an offer in, and the realtor told us 13 people looked at it, but it wouldn't work out for them to put their business there. So
What's the special conditions of the property that make it a hardship that you have to convert this from commercial to residential use of this first floor?
I think it's going to be very difficult to find a business that would want to rent this from us, and we're actually looking to keep it in our family. So, I mean, at some point off in the future, this could be my stepdaughter's home and next to our home.
Anybody have questions? Comments?
My question
Oh,
is to the, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, okay. And I know there is a shortage of housing right now, so having a 3-bedroom apartment there would probably benefit the public more than trying to find a small business to use that space.
It's been difficult on Mass Road to fill those vacant buildings or vacant studios or whatever. They've been empty for months, if
The
not years.
vacant, the businesses or the
Businesses,
homes?
businesses.
I've noticed they're picking up though. Like in Shaw's Plaza especially, there's a lot of them that are going into what had been vacated. So things, yeah.
Just in the past year.
Yeah, things are starting to pick up.
I don't have any questions.
No,
Okay.
I'm good.
No?
No, I think
No,
we-
Okay. I guess my comment is just a concern because our town is very short on commercial property. And I just hate turning it over to residential because we have so little. I know, but I do agree, there's that shortage of housing everywhere. But I guess I'm torn because we need our commercial businesses to help offset taxes.
I was going to say, I'm going to echo the sentiment of the board member that's missing that always says this, but I think we need to be protective of the commercial aspects of our town. We don't have a lot of it.
Yeah, and for that, I think that it doesn't meet the spirit of the ordinance, because the ordinance is commercial to be able to offset the tax rate.
Now, think of it this way. It is a property that was changed in use from residential
Mhm.
to residential and commercial.
Mhm.
When it was built, you mean?
No,
No,
when it
no,
was built, it
no.
was residential.
It was residential, yes.
Then the zone, like the front portion of Mast Road, like the front rows of
Yeah.
homes and things, that whole stretch was rezoned to commercial.
And now it's slowly being converted back in some businesses.
Well,
It's mixed use.
It is mixed use, because if you go down in front of Hannaford's, across the street, those are all single-family homes. All the way up through the pizza market.
But they have been single-family homes. They haven't, have they changed hands?
Oh, one of them had a plate shop in it. Are you kidding me? It's back to a residence now. I mean, we've granted variances for the spine clinic. It's on Mass Road.
Yeah. But that's a business that's on Mast Road.
That's right. And we heard a variance from next to the car wash.
And that's a commercial use,
And that was a residence to start with.
right?
So there's been some,
Because it
it goes back and forth.
Yeah.
So my question that I have for the board, if you could help me understand, is we're looking at the table of principal uses 3.11
Mhm.
as directed by the staff review to help us get through this, the commercial district per section 3.11. How do I utilize what I'm reviewing at this point and say, are we going to convert back to start converting and allowing residential uses again? When do we say yes and when do we say no?
If you go historically, a lot of the cities and towns have gone back to allowing mixed use, both commercial and residential, in the same zone, only because people bring customers.
Goffstown has a commercial industrial,
Yeah, we-
commercial industrial flex zone, but it allows some residential.
Yeah,
The
this is not
the
one of those
CIFC
zones.
zone allows residential.
Yeah, but see, we don't have that zone available in Oddville.
No, it's not. This is just a commercial zone.
But only, they're backed up to residence,
Mhm.
that's a residential. How far back from
It's just
Mass Road does the commercial zone
I
extend?
believe it's just the ones that are facing
Mass
Mass Road.
You
Is
sure?
there a map here? Is there a map
Well,
we could
I
look
just
at?
looked
I'm
at it.
trying to look over my shoulder, but
There is, but
it has no
It's in here.
quick labeling
The
for
new
me.
thing that we discussed.
Okay, and it's toward the back, okay.
So,
Yeah, Matt?
I just think we got a balancing act that we have to do here, because on the one hand, you've got, we all know what the housing market
This is
is like these
commercial,
days, and
and
the
then
high
these are
demand
commercial.
for apartments out
Yes.
of
Okay.
a night you can go by, you can be cruising the Goffstown groups on the internet and not find somebody, pardon me, folks, that's looking for an apartment. On the other hand, we need the commercial, but we can't force the commercial to come in and infill some of these odd commercial spaces that we've got. And I'm thinking that you've got a building there that's set up for a daycare center. How many people are going to want to come in and, let's say, re-outfit a building for some other sort of a commercial endeavor? Again, I just think it's got to be a balance between the need for commercial and the need for housing that we're dealing
I agree.
here.
And
I
where-
agree.
But my question is, again, where does we get that information from to guide us? Where should we, how should I be getting this information?
Well,
Off the top of my head, I can't.
we get the, as far as
Anything?
from in there,
Yeah,
if, when the applicant presents his application and his request, if he meets the criteria, then we give it regardless of what we feel about commercial versus residential, if he's met the criteria.
I don't
If we don't,
see,
if he hasn't, then we don't.
the section 3.11 doesn't really clarify and give enough information to,
So 3.11 just talks to the table of principal uses and what's permitted by right, permitted by special exception or conditional use permit, or what is not permitted. I think the only, I guess, other is you could look at similar uses in the commercial district, or you could look back to section 2 where the zoning districts are actually defined.
now the,
Two-family dwellings, Judy, in the commercial district are not allowed.
what page are you on?
Page 29.
Oh, yes, I did read that, of course. Absolutely. So, now having said that, so, I mean, we know that there's two-family dwellings there.
Right.
So,
But the houses directly behind this are also in the commercial zone.
Yes, the lots
they're
immediately behind
residential.
on the side roads are, yes, one lot back are commercially zoned.
and sometimes to have the map that you just showed me, Derek, is important to filter and see through where we are with the line of the commercial. He showed me that. Which was helpful.
Because when you think about it, you know, what would it take to make that I've been in that daycare, so I'm speaking from past experience. That could be converted back to an apartment with a very little effort, because the kitchen's still there, the bathroom's still there. All it is rooms that require painting and whatever inside to make it an apartment. It's not like you have to do any renovation to the outside of the house or the inside of the house to make it a single family or an apartment.
I have a question for the applicant. When you bought this property, what were you looking at for putting for commercial in there? Or were you always looking to just convert it?
We were always looking to convert it.
Okay. And looking at that and now adding it to the questions, I mean, this is what I came up with. So granting the variance would not be contrary to the public. Well, it would, because any commercial businesses there are not going to want traffic reduced. So they would want a daycare or something like that there to increase traffic. The second one is the spirit of the ordinance is observed because it'll maintain its physical appearance. Well, right, but it's not promoting commercial if we change it into a residential space. So now we've eliminated the spirit of the ordinance is to promote commercial development in that space. So that's been eliminated. Granting the variance would do substantial justice because it would lessen the currently congested traffic on Mass Road. Again, that's not good for commercial. That's what that zone is. They want traffic. The values of the surrounding properties will not diminish. Okay. That one maybe. But again, if you're looking at changing this to a commercial funeral home or something, right? Now I've got a residence next door. That may not be a good thing either. So, I mean,
There are a lot of
So-
residential funeral homes surrounded by residential neighborhoods, or residential homes.
well, okay, so maybe funeral homes is the best.
Sometimes in the funeral home.
You know, but the thing is,
I mean,
is it observing the ordinance? There's a difference between observing the ordinance and meeting the spirit of the ordinance.
well, the spirit of the ordinance is to make that area commercial.
The
That would be my take on it. We want, that's where we want commercial to be. That's the spirit of the ordinance. We're not opening it
I
up
don't
for.
That's the
No.
intent of the ordinance.
That's the intent,
Are you-
yeah.
Are you
Not the
familiar
spirit.
with the Penardville study that was done?
No.
You better get a copy. That's all I'm gonna say.
Plan Pinardville. Okay, the commercial district, you were asking, Judy. The commercial district is established to provide for village-scaled commercial service and similar uses in areas that are or are anticipated to be served by municipal utilities and where access is available from arterial and collector streets. The commercial district is intended to encourage commercial and service uses to the mutual advantage of both consumers and merchants, thus promoting public convenience and prosperity. Residential uses are not allowed in this district except as part of a mixed-use project.
Excellent, thank you.
So if it was, the way that I read that is, if we were talking about putting, this is an all-commercial building and they wanted to put an apartment upstairs, that follows the spirit of the ordinance.
Right.
Making a fully residential building, to me, that's not in the spirit of that ordinance. And I would love to look at that Plan Pinardville thing, but at the end of the day, right now, it's zoned commercial.
But my question is, have we crossed the line by saying we're not going to grant the variance because they can't meet the criteria when the variance is to be able, well, that when they can't meet the requirements, when the requirements are the reason for the variance?
Little circularity.
Yeah.
So, say that again, it's a little different.
A little different, I don't know if I can. Would we be crossing the line by saying that if we didn't, I don't know if I can say it again, that they haven't met the criteria, or would we cross the line if we denied it, saying they haven't met the criteria, when the criteria, they haven't met the requirements versus the criteria, the requirements of the zoning ordinance, when the variance is a request to stray from the zoning requirements. So have we crossed that line?
And so you have a building in the middle. Left is your home, that's a two-family. The center is mixed. First floor was a business, second floor is an apartment. On the right-hand side is the barber shop or something, hairdresser, and
With an
upstairs
apartment.
is so,
And although it is commercial all along Nast Road there, immediately behind them, it's gonna be residential, or R2 probably. I haven't looked.
The lots immediately behind are commercial on the two side streets.
They are?
They
Yes,
are.
they are.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I don't see any businesses.
That's how it's zoned. I'm not saying that's what the
Yeah.
use is.
The
That's how
zone-
it is
The zone was changed
zoned.
a number of years ago, anticipating trying to bring in the commercial and things.
The two lots are both, the lot on Roy Street and DeSaulnier are both single-family lots, but they are zoned commercial. So those are single families in the commercial district.
This is different from that too, because this is a multifamily.
This is not a
Well, no,
multifamily. This is
being
a,
proposed as a multifamily.
Proposed
this is
to-
being,
I'm sorry.
this is being proposed as a two-family. That's a
And that's-
distinct, different use in our zoning ordinance.
So I have a question when it comes to granting the variance would not be contrary to the public interest.
Mhm.
So, what is the public interest on this particular site? Or what can you do to make this a property of public interest, not a thing? Yes. I don't know in my own right mind, in my experience, that any commercial enterprise would be there.
What?
Ever.
I didn't hear you, what? Any commercial what?
Any commercial business would ever move into that building.
Well, there was a daycare there. Why wouldn't another one be there?
But they won't. You won't find them. I mean, in my practice, in 50 years of practice, no one would ever consider that a commercial use.
Why not?
It looks like a house. It doesn't present itself as a commercial, contemporary structure.
There are a lot of places, like, say, business offices that will convert a house into,
Where?
Psychology offices, I can think of a lot in the north end of Manchester.
That's very true.
I can think of others on Mass Road.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, you go above Webster Street, there are no commercial enterprises on Elm Street. They're all residential. There's one on the corner.
above
Excuse me,
Webster
of
Street, sure.
It's a real estate office. But I mean, it's, I think you have to think of the scale of things. The scale of this property doesn't allow itself to be used for commercial purposes. You'd have to acquire all the houses on that block, tear them down, and start over. And that's not gonna happen. I mean, I think this board needs a copy of that study that was done in Penardville. It was never approved by the town, but it was done at the town expenses. This is what we want to have happen there. And this was not one of them.
But like I said, it wasn't approved.
I would just like to say that without some more information, I feel that it would be beneficial to possibly think about holding on to this and postponing this. No.
No, we'll hash it out.
Until we get more information.
We'll
I have
hash
no
it out.
idea what he's talking about. I've lived here 7 years
The
now.
Plan Penardville is what you're talking about.
Yes.
It's a
Okay.
long discussion for
And-
another forum.
And that was not approved. However, the voters did vote to rezone, and I don't know, I don't know the timing, if they were at the same time, different times, or whatever. The town did vote to rezone that strip to be commercial instead of whatever it was. It's commercial quite a ways up.
Mostly R2, I believe, at that time.
So that was done by town vote.
I hate to think that we keep putting our head in the sand.
You know, again though, Alan, as Gail has so often pointed out, we need to apply the law as we have it in front of us, and it's difficult, but I understand your point of view also.
Until or unless it changes, we have to adhere to it.
But
Unless it justifies and meets the, in this case, the variance criteria, saying that it still meets that it's not contrary to the public interest. Is it contrary to the public interest to change this house? I don't think so. I just don't. And on the other hand, I know contrary to the public interest and spirit of the ordinance are tied together, but at the same time, I also don't think it meets the spirit of the ordinance. So,
Well, the contrary to the public interest is if it's within that 10-year plan, you would want to have your businesses and walking areas and so forth for, just like in the village.
yeah, but that 10-year plan that you're talking about was never passed.
You guys bring it up all often, so I thought I would make reference to it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, having a walkable community, but Penideville's a
Yeah.
walkable community. It's got the sidewalks and things like that.
Yes, it
You know,
does.
the whole plan I
And
had
have-
back then was to update it a little bit,
Mhm.
so it didn't look so
This,
gray. I
this is
think
getting
it's
very
always the same.
deep, but as Alan's referencing, there's so many
so it
empty
doesn't look so
buildings right
old.
now, and so run down
Yeah.
on that street. Empty and run down and waiting for a business maybe, or,
Okay, so do we,
I think we're getting into the weeds here.
I
Frank.
think so,
Yeah.
I think so.
very much so.
I think we should bring it back to discussion of the applicant's request. And I agree with Gail, I don't see where it is contrary to the public interest, because is it contrary to the public interest to have someone sitting there with a vacant unit that will probably stay vacant for an extended period of time when you might be able to, answer a small portion of the housing need in the community?
And property values aren't gonna be diminished. That I agree with that one.
See, I don't know, I still go back to the contrary to the public interest. The public interest is to have commercial there. If we start putting residential there, it's going to discourage commercial development.
But that's where did you have?
I'm struggling because I'm here as a staff liaison, but I'd like to, if you allow me to.
Yeah, go ahead.
This is not a vacant piece of commercial land. This is not a building that is designed for business upfit. This is a residence that many years ago was converted to a daycare use with an apartment above it. I think what we have seen is the thought of psychologist's office, the office, and Alan can probably speak to this, I don't know how many people are still having those offices. It's over the last 2 years, people have learned of, do you need to go to the therapist's office, or do you do it in some other format? So yes, I guess the ordinance is designed to have commercial in commercial, but is this necessarily that upfit that's allowed, where somebody can go in, make that quick turnkey to get the commercial in there? Or is it only possible with a significant investment that is far beyond anything that will ever reap the benefit back? And I think that's what the ordinance kind of struggles with, is these old residences that are kind of in the in-between.
Thank you, Derek.
Yeah.
Gonna make a motion to grant the variance.
Okay,
I'm gonna second it.
okay. All in favor?
All right.
Any against? Okay. Motion carries.
Thank you
Thank you.
for your patience.
Yes.
Oh, no problem.
Okay, do we have Judy, you'll get sworn in during the next month?
Oh, yes, I'll go see Kathy, yes.
Okay. And-
Yeah, if you give her a couple of days, I'll let her know in the morning
Sure.
that the ZBA voted to reappoint you. That will give her an opportunity to do the necessary paperwork.
Okay.
Okay, and do we have a motion to adjourn?
What's Town and City
I
Magazine?
make a motion.
Say what?
The thing on here for Town and City Magazine, I was intrigued by this.
So that is a magazine that's put out by the New Hampshire Municipal Association. I can send everyone a link to it, but if people prefer to borrow the zoning board's copy and look at it, if they prefer to look at that, they have different articles of municipal significance. Usually, they're put out every other month. They'll have articles focusing on land use, court updates, legislation, budgetary items, so it's a very useful one, but I can send a link out to everybody.
I don't know about this technology stuff.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you. Meeting is adjourned.